Trisha, my sexy, beautiful wife, was especially playful this evening. As we sat on the couch after dinner, she jumped into my lap and started kissing and hugging me, and was much more playful than usual. My name is Jacoby, but my friends call me Jay. I fell in love with Trisha over 5 years ago and just celebrated our 4th wedding anniversary last month. We met right after I got out of the Marine Corps. During my time in the Marines, I got seriously into strength training and self-defense. For the last year, I worked as a drill instructor and helped recruits become tough soldiers ready for the field. It was fun, but I wasn't destined to be in the military my whole life. I had plans, and after I got out, I started my own business, renting gyms and fitness trainers with the money I had saved up during my 4 years of service. The business grew quickly, and I dedicated all of my time to growing the business and helping others. Being 195 centimeters tall and 115 pounds of muscle mass, I instilled confidence in my clients that I could help them change their bodies. I loved watching people come in unsure of themselves and watching them transform into confident, strong people 6 months later. Trisha was the sister of one of my clients, and we hit it off right away. We made a fun couple as Trisha is 165 centimeters tall, 30 centimeters shorter, and 65 kilograms lighter. At only 50 kilograms, she was thin, fragile, and innocent at the age of 22. I was 26 years old at the time and had much more life experience than this innocent little girl. She wasn't into working out, but we enjoyed doing things together in every spare minute we had. We started dating and our affair turned into marriage a year later. Our sexual connection was strong and we enjoyed our lovemaking and sex. Honestly, she was the best lover I had ever been with. Trisha was always attentive, loving, and relaxed in bed. She met all my needs and I loved her with all my heart. Her playfulness and innocence are 2 things I adore about her. Someone meeting her for the first time might think she is flighty or silly blonde, but she is very attractive. Don't get me wrong, she is very intelligent, however she lacks common sense, which I find endearing at times. As you can imagine, as a fitness trainer with a strong body and matching good looks, I am constantly getting offers from the girls I train. I mean, with these ladies, it's a constant struggle to keep things under control. I even had to install video cameras throughout the gym just to protect myself from any claims of sexual assault by one of the girls I turned down. Sometimes they got angry when I rejected their advances. I had heard of some vindictive woman making false claims and I needed to protect my business and my reputation. I set up remote control cameras in my home so Trisha could peek in on me whenever she wanted. Trisha knows how devoted I am to her, and I will be sure to let her know how much I love her. Sexually, my size and strength may be too much for her, but she has never complained. Financially, we are in good shape as my business is doing well, and Trisha works as a real estate agent to earn extra income. Last Sunday afternoon, we were relaxing in the living room with a bottle of wine, and Trisha was more playful than usual. She got all giggly and jumped into my lap, kissing me and acting like a high school girl. I had to admit that I liked the attention when she acted like that. She always knows how to make me feel loved. Our relationship took a very rapid turn when the reason for her playfulness and excessive affection was revealed. Running her hands through my hair, she smiled that smile that always makes my heart melt and calmly said, "Honey, Brian is taking me out to dinner next Friday night. That's okay with you, right?" It actually took me more than a minute to comprehend what she had just said. I was sure I had misheard her and was just enjoying that wonderful smile. When I didn't answer, she asked again in her sweet voice, "You don't mind, do you?" "Trisha, what are you asking me? I'm sorry, I don't understand." "Oh, silly me, Brian from the office asked me to dinner next Friday and I kind of said yes to him." Now my mind heard what she said and understood the meaning, but was sure I misunderstood what she was asking. "You're asking me if you can go out to dinner with Brian next week? Like a date? It's not really a date, just dinner and maybe a movie." I sat with my mouth open for a long time, unable to believe that my faithful wife, the love of my life, was asking me if it was okay for her to go on a date with another guy. "Trisha, that is the definition of dating. Is that what you want to do? Go out with another guy?" "He's such a nice guy and we get along so well at the office. He makes me laugh and feel good all the time. I don't see it as a date, more like a drink after work, but in this case, dinner and a trip to the movies." It made me dizzy. Surely she could understand what she was asking here, but I don't think she did. "Trisha, you know I've never dated another woman or even thought about it. How could you possibly want to date another guy?" "Jay, Don't be jealous. He's nothing like you and it's just one night. I'll only love you and I don't feel anything for him, but I want to do this. I already told him, yes, I hope you're not mad. I wasn't mad. Mad was a much smaller word to describe what I was feeling at that moment. Fortunately, all my military training allowed me to remain calm as I assessed the situation and quickly came up with an idea. "Oh, you already said yes, now I get it," I said, as I picked up my cell phone and dialed the number of one of the ladies who had been stalking me for months. Still holding Trisha on my lap playing with my hair, I dialed the number. "Hi, Angel, it's Jay," I said, watching the confused look on my wife's face. "I'm fine, thank you. Listen, is that offer still valid for Friday night?" "Is it? That's great. My wife, well, she just told me she wants an open marriage, and I immediately thought of you. It's gonna be fun. I'll see you this week and we can plan it. Bye." Trisha stopped rubbing my hair and looked at me with squinted eyes. "Who's Angel?" "One of my clients. We get along really well and she makes me laugh, so we're going out Friday night like you." Oddly enough, she instantly got angry, jumped off my lap, and started yelling at me. I couldn't believe she didn't see the hypocrisy in her actions and just listened to her as she continued to yell at me. "I can't believe you're dating some girl, probably a whore, I'm sure. I will not tolerate you cheating on me and seeing other girls, Jay. That's bullshit." Trying not to laugh, I asked, "But it's okay for you to date a guy from work?" "It's different." "How is it different?" "It's just going to be a night out together to have some fun." "Well, that's what I'll be doing too. Look, Trisha, I never wanted to be with another woman until you told me a minute ago that you wanted to be with another man. Do you really think I'd let you go on a date and just sit here alone?" Looking at me like she had just lost her favorite puppy, I continued, "You started this and we're going to end it. You're going on a date with Brian, and I'm going to be on a date with Angel. Whatever happens, will happen, and I hope we can stay faithful and stay married after Friday night. I'll be sleeping in the guest room, and sex between us is out of the question until I decide if I want to stay married to you. The thought of you wanting to be with another man hurts me too much to even want to touch you. Right now, I don't feel anything for you." Trisha was crying and angry at the same time. Normally, I would have hugged her and tried to comfort her, but not after this. I waited a few minutes for her to calm down and continued. "Next week, you and I are going to go to counseling to find out why I'm not enough for you. And maybe, just maybe, if you can get me to understand why I'm not enough for you, then maybe we can stay married. But let me be clear. Whatever happens now is up to you. The thought of you even wanting to be with another man makes me want to divorce you right now, but I'm old enough to handle that. Depending on what happens Friday night and how we feel after dating other people will determine our future. Just remember, Trisha, no matter what happens, it's all up to you and your decision to go on this date with Brian. I'm not going to cancel my plans, and you're going to have to accept the outcome, whatever it may be." Still crying and confused, she said nothing and left the room. About 10 minutes later, I heard her talking on her cell phone to her sister, which I expected. I guess her sister told her she was crazy because an hour later, she came back to me acting sweet and innocent again. However, I was wary and wouldn't let her attempts at manipulation get the best of me. "Honey, I may have made a mistake going out with Brian. I'm going to cancel it. I don't want to be with anyone else." "That's up to you, Trisha. But you've already started what I intend to finish. You can go out or stay home, but I'm not canceling my date with Angel. You've already told me how much you wanted it, and you deliberately hurt me. My only option right now is to see where this goes. Maybe you're right, and we need to start dating other people and have a real open marriage. You have to realize that your choices always have consequences. It was your decision, and remember, you were the one who agreed to date him before you talked to me." "It hurt, and I can't forgive that." She tried to explain again. "Jay, it wouldn't have been a date. You have to believe me. It would have been after hours." "It's not a big deal. I'll cancel it. Can't we just go out together on Friday night?" I ignored her pleas, grabbed a beer, and headed out to the patio to calm down a bit. I slept in the guest room that night and the rest of the week after listening to Trisha cry all night. The next day, I got a call from her sister Helen. "Jay, are you really seeing another woman this week? You can't do that to Trisha. She loves you so much." "Helen, you obviously don't know the whole situation or you haven't been told the whole story. Your little sister agreed to go on a date with a coworker without even discussing it with me. She came home and announced that she was going to go on this date without caring about my feelings or our marriage. I'm definitely going to go on the date and we'll see where we are afterward. I have been monogamous and have never even thought about being with another woman since the day I met your sister. Honestly, I love her more than anything, but I'm not sure I want to stay married to a woman who wants other men. That would be hard to accept. Do you understand that, Helen? Yes, Jay, I do. I had no idea she was so stupid. Please be patient with her. She probably doesn't even realize she's hurting you and thinks it's no big deal. Helen, I'm being patient. I haven't kicked her ass yet, but she's going to have to live with the consequences, no matter where they lead. Helen talked to Trisha again, and finally made her realize what she had done to our relationship, and how seriously her decision to date another man had affected our marriage and my feelings. Trisha apologized and begged me to change my mind and cancel our dates. However, I was now on a mission to level the playing field, to let her see what she had done and figure out if we would stay together. Hearing that your wife wants to date another man is something I hope no other man has to hear. And please don't judge my decisions until it happens to you. If it happens, tell me how I must keep my patience and be lenient. Not a chance in hell. I planned for Angel to pick me up that evening because I wanted to introduce her to my wife and make sure she knew it was okay to date a married man. Friday night. Even though she didn't want to date her work buddy, I insisted that she honor her commitment to her boyfriend. She didn't like that I called him her boyfriend and tried to assure me that he was just a friend. Trisha was dressed nicely for her date with Brian. She was wearing a cute dress and looked pretty as usual. At least she wasn't trying to dress and look sexy for this date, which gave me a little hope for us. She was nervous about meeting Angel, but I insisted that she meet my date here to assure her that we now had an open marriage. She argued with me about open marriage, but I ignored her. I acted like a jerk, but in my opinion, it was all justified. Trisha's eyes popped out of her orbits when Angel walked in at 6 o'clock that evening. Angel was the complete opposite of Trisha. Trisha was a petite girl, while Angel was 5'10" inches and in great shape thanks to all her workouts. Her large size 3 breasts peeked out from under her dress and she looked amazing standing next to me. I was wearing my tight-fitting sports jacket that revealed my muscular body. I even made Trisha take some pictures of us together before we left, which really pissed her off. We made a cute couple and we could pose for the cover of a sports training magazine. I could see Trisha seething with anger and jealousy, but there was nothing she could do. Finally, she realized that she had uncorked a bottle she might not be able to close. I laughed to myself as I introduced them to each other and heard Angel say, "Trisha, it's so nice to meet you. Jay told me all about your open marriage and I'm happy for you. I've been after this handsome man for the past year and I was so excited when he called me on Sunday. I heard you got a new boyfriend too. Good for you." I could see Trisha's head about to burst into flames, but she didn't answer fast enough because the doorbell rang and she realized it was Brian. She got all nervous when I opened the door and let him inside. I was a little surprised to see who she was meeting. Brian was about 170 centimeters tall and almost as tall as Trisha in her 10-inch heels. He wasn't an attractive man. I had no idea what she was thinking. He weighed about 70 pounds, his hair was falling out, and he clearly wasn't a physical threat. But he was still a problem in our relationship. I think the poor guy almost shit his pants when he saw my massive body towering over him. His hand seemed small, cold, and clammy when I shook his bony handshake for fun and said, "My wife is ready for your date. Have fun." He just nodded and looked at Trisha for help. Angel and I laughed as we left, and I knew Trisha was about to lose her mind. I didn't feel bad for a second and hoped everything would end well. Coming home. We got to my house around 6 a.m. the next morning, and Angel dropped me off. We had a very warm and lingering kiss goodbye in the driveway, which I was sure Trisha had seen from the window. Angel and I had a nice dinner, a night of dancing at one of her favorite clubs, a walk on the beach after the club closed, and then breakfast before she drove me home. It was an interesting night. She was fun to be with. She was a great dancer. She had a great sense of humor. She was sexy as hell, and an amazing kisser. We didn't go further than a kiss, but there was a chemistry between us that I knew could lead to a very exciting relationship. Trisha, however, was the only one I thought about all that night. When we were dancing, I thought about my wife. When we were on the beach, it brought back memories of Trisha and me in Hawaii. Every moment, with the exception of the goodnight kiss, was filled with thoughts of Trisha. With a happy and sad heart, I walked into my house, wondering if it would ever be my home again. Trisha was awake and waiting for me when I entered the house. As soon as she saw me, she greeted me with words. "A nice kiss. What else did you do all night?" Ignoring her remark, I said, "Good morning, Trisha. How was your date? Brian seems like a nice guy." "Did you fuck her?" she howled in an angry voice. "Trisha, it was just our first date. You should know me better than that. First date. Are you seeing her again?" "I don't know. Are you seeing your boyfriend again?" "Of course not. I don't want him. I want you." "Well, you wanted him last week. What changed?" I realized I was an idiot and I thought I could go out and just hang out with a guy, just like I would do with one of my friends. You know, just hang out. "But you had to pull out that slutty supermodel and shove it in my face," she said, crying into one of the napkins scattered across the couch. She must have sat there all night crying and waiting for me to return. It was clear that she now realized what she had done. And maybe she really did think he was just someone to spend time with, like she would with one of her friends. I mean, this guy wasn't a threat, and maybe I overreacted. I'm still stunned at the thought that any woman would think a husband would be okay letting his wife date another guy, even if it was innocent. I took her in my arms and just pulled her against me. "Trisha, I love you, but I can't live with a woman who wants to be with other men for whatever reason. I will not put up with a cheating woman, and if it happens again, you lie to me, or do it behind my back, I will throw you out and divorce you on the spot. Do you understand?" She put her arms around me and kissed me. "Yes, baby. I would never cheat on you, and I never wanted to be with anyone else but you." That was different. "You still haven't told me how your date with Brian went. What happened?" "It wasn't a date. What you did to that Barbie doll was a date. We had dinner, but he was so shocked to see you and hurt his arm that he drove me home right after dinner. It wasn't fun, and I had a terrible time. He dropped me off around 8 p.m., and here I was thinking about what you'd been doing to her all night. And then I saw you kissing her like that." She started sobbing again. I hugged her again and told her everything was going to be okay. I actually laughed to myself thinking about how the little guy had met her husband, a mousy man. After shaking his hand, I was pretty sure he was going to act like a gentleman that evening, and that was another reason I was looking forward to seeing him before Angel and I left. "Trisha, let's forget about last night for now, but I'm serious about counseling. I still need to understand some things, and you also need to understand my feelings. If we can get through this and I can trust you again, then I won't see Angel or any of the other women who keep asking me out." Her eyes went wide as she realized that Angel wasn't the only threat. We spent the day in bed making sweet love and getting reacquainted. I started sleeping in my own bed again and was on the path back to sanity. Counseling was the answer to our situation. Mrs. Williams was empathetic and caring. She actually had to explain to Trisha how her actions made me feel insignificant and hurt. Trisha didn't look at Brian as a man, but only as a friend. She tried to explain that she never said it was a date, just a night out with her friend Brian. She tried to explain that it was no different than doing the same thing with one of her friends. Mrs. Williams finally made Trisha realize that in a monogamous relationship, you can't spend time with other men and abandon your husband. Trisha tried to complain about how vindictive I was being by dating that woman who was clearly much sexier and more attractive. She said it wasn't fair and that it was wrong. Mrs. Williams explained everything from my perspective and offered some points of view that put her at ease. When it was my turn to speak, I explained that I now understood what her intentions were, but I still wouldn't accept her spending time with other men. I looked at Trisha and said loudly, "Trisha, I love you, and you broke my heart when you told me you were dating Brian." My fight-or-flight military training had taken its toll, and I decided to fight. If you were going to date other men, I would have started dating other women in return. I never meant to do that, and I'm sorry it happened, but it was your fault. In the future, if you do something like this again, you will get divorce papers within a week. I will not put up with a cheating wife. I realize you didn't see this as a date, and that's why I'm willing to work on our marriage. But don't ever try this again. After that outburst, everyone went quiet and things changed. Trisha was more in tune with my feelings, and we talked more and turned this ridiculous event into a stronger marriage. We continued therapy for several months and found new ways to keep each other as the main focus in our relationship. Angel was sympathetic and even called Trisha to tell her that she would back off and not pursue her husband. But if she ever wanted to leave him, she would be happy to step in. Trisha realized what she had and how quickly she could lose me to another woman. She never gave me a reason to be jealous or even think about being with a man again. She now understood the meaning of dating and that making the wrong choice has consequences. Brian and Trisha remained friends, but Brian was too scared to ever take another step or be anything more than friends at work. I realized that sometimes women can't understand normal thinking.